I want to put out an urgent message. Over the last couple of weeks, millions of dollars of out-of-state money funded by organizations like George Soros funds are pouring money into this state, trying to convince you that Amendment Number 2 is bad for Louisiana. You have entrusted us and the legislature, and all last year we worked to reduce crime, to improve our education, and to improve our economy. And to keep that momentum going, we need you to go out and vote yes on Amendment Number 2. Don't believe the Soros money. Vote yes, Amendment Number 2.
This is Curtis James Jackson. You might know me as 50 Cent. I have a special message for the people of Louisiana. As you may have heard, I'm now a proud Louisiana property and business owner working hard to bring film and television industry back to Louisiana. I'm working because I have an opportunity to use my influence and make real change in the communities. I want to see more jobs and prosperity in the state of Louisiana. This is why I support the Amendment 2 on your ballot this Saturday.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Videos like this are some of my favorite videos to make because I get to clearly show you guys how black liberals operate, right? They claim to be pro-black, and this is how they get black people to vote Democrat. But the truth is that they're not pro-black when it comes to policies that are actually beneficial or helpful towards black people. No. They're actually just pro-Democrat and pro-progressive, right? It doesn't matter if the policy is good or bad for black people. If it's not pro-progressive or pro-Democrat, then they just say it's bad. And in order to convince black people that it's bad, they will lie to black people by omitting information that black people should know about the legislation or the policy that they want black people, in this case, to vote against, which is exactly what this story is about out of Louisiana, okay, where you have 4 amendments on the ballot that voters have to decide on today, actually. And the amendment that I want to focus on in this video is Amendment 2, which calls for tax changes to the state's constitution. Now, I'm going to go over these changes in detail, but first I want to react to Roland Martin and his black progressive propagandists, their reaction to it, because I want to highlight how these black liberals basically lie to black people about certain policies, right, in order to trick black people, okay? But just understand that Amendment 2 is supported by the GOP governor, Jeffrey Landry, and 50 Cent has just come out with a video in support of Amendment 2. 50 Cent being a black rapper, you know the black liberals are, they're upset, right? They're really upset with the fact that 50 Cent is supporting a MAGA governor's amendment, right? Again, that is what Roland Martin and his propagandists are upset about, and I want to react to it. But keep in mind that I don't know the final outcome of this amendment, okay? The election is being held basically as I make this video, so regardless of the outcome, I just want to focus on how black liberals cover this amendment versus what's actually in the amendment. So without further ado, let's get into it.
You might say, well, who are they utilizing? Who are they having push stuff out? Would you believe rapper 50 Cent? Now, 50 Cent just signed a 45-year lease agreement for his studio buildings in Shreveport, Louisiana. This is the video Gary sent me that they have been sending around with 50 Cent backing one of these constitutional amendments. I want y'all to listen.
This is Curtis James Jackson. You might know me as 50 Cent. I have a special message for the people of Louisiana. As you may have heard, I'm now a proud Louisiana property and business owner working hard to bring film and television industry back to Louisiana. I'm working because I have an opportunity to use my influence and make real change in the communities. I want to see more jobs and prosperity in the state of Louisiana. This is why I support the Amendment 2 on your ballot this Saturday. You should too. Don't let anyone confuse you about the Amendment 2. It gives teachers permanent pay raise. It doubles senior citizens tax deduction. This is all good stuff. Voting in favor of the Amendment 2 makes common sense. And this is a bipartisan effort. Every Louisiana State Senate Democrat voted to get the Amendment 2 on the ballot. This one is about the people coming together. This is Curtis James Jackson. You might know me as 50 Cent.
Okay.
I have a special message.
All right, well, again, 50 Cent just showed up in Louisiana very recently. Let's talk to somebody who is a lifelong resident of Louisiana, activist Gary Chambers Jr. So, Gary, you sent me that this morning. So you heard 50 Cent there talking about Amendment 2. This is from the Power Coalition. They say this amendment would change some of Louisiana's rules about taxes, government spending, and teachers' pay. It is a grab bag of changes, but at its core, it cuts funding for early, special, and K through 12 education, as well as roads and infrastructure maintenance. Explain.
Okay, let me explain, because that is not an accurate description of what the amendment does, right? The title of Roland Martin's video is, "What the hell? 50 Cent sides with MAGA Governor Landry, backs law that could crush Black Louisiana." Now, I'm going to read what the amendment actually calls for, and I want you guys to tell me whether or not this would crush Black Louisiana. What are they trying to do? Well, the Republicans are trying to make the state more economically competitive. Essentially, they're trying to attract business people, business to the state. What is that going to do? That's going to create jobs, right? That is going to help the people in the state, right? They want to be a more business-friendly state. Like, that is the point, right? In order to do that, you need to lower taxes. It increases standard deduction for seniors. If you are a senior, your standard deduction would double from $12,500 to $25,000. So basically, they're providing financial relief to senior citizens by reducing their taxable income. Does that crush Black Louisiana, right? Does that crush Black people, right? According to Roland Martin, the title of his video, this would crush Black people. A flat tax and financial relief for seniors would crush Black people. Just saying, right? This is what Black Democrats, this is what they say. This is what Black liberals say, okay? Reduction in corporate taxes. The amendment proposes lowering the corporate income tax rate to 5.5% and eliminating the corporate franchise tax. These measures are intended to make Louisiana more attractive to businesses and stimulate economic growth. Again, sounds good to me, right? Lowering taxes. I'm trying to figure out how lowering taxes would crush Black Louisiana. What's bad about having lower taxes? I don't get it. I don't understand it. A government growth limit would be established to cap the rate at which the state government spending can increase. This mechanism aims to ensure the government expenditures do not outpace the state's economic growth, promoting fiscal responsibility. Wait, so they're actually putting a cap on how much spending the state can do if they're not growing fast enough, right? Wow. Fiscal responsibility. Apparently that would crush Black Louisiana, according to Roland Martin, right? And he doesn't like the fact that 50 Cent is promoting all these terrible things that will crush Black people in Louisiana. Teacher salary increases. The amendment includes provisions to provide a permanent $2,000 annual pay raise for teachers. This initiative underscores the state's commitment to investing in education and retaining qualified educators. So the Black liberals will say, well, this doesn't actually increase pay because they already got the stipend, but it makes a stipend permanent, right? A stipend is a one-time thing. They have to renew it every year. This legislation will make it permanent. So it's a permanent increase, okay? So they don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to get it every year. It's permanent, okay? Apparently, increasing teacher salaries would crush Black Louisiana, right? Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what's so terrible about this for Black folks. So that's the gist of the bill, okay? In other parts of the bill are like modifications to property taxes, right? The exemptions that you can use and stuff like that. But nowhere in the bill, right? Nowhere in the bill, at its core, it reduces funding for early, special, and K-12 education, as well as roads and infrastructure maintenance. It doesn't do that, right? It doesn't do that, okay? It doesn't do that. But this is what progressives are saying that it does, right? This is what liberals are saying that it does, right? While not explaining the rest of the bill. When you talk about lowering taxes, okay, you're talking about making a state more competitive for business, right? If a state is more competitive for business and more businesses come and they decide to operate in your state, you're going to create more jobs and more opportunity, right? Louisiana is taking a page out of the playbook of a lot of other states in the South that are doing the same thing. And guess what the result has been? People moving en masse from liberal states, overtaxed, overregulated states like California and New York and these northern states, these Democrat, liberal, progressive hellholes, they're moving from there to the South. Why? Because the South is more tax friendly. There's more growth, right? Again, because the policies. And Black liberals are actively standing against these policies. That's what they're doing. They're standing against it. And then they'll turn around and tell you, well, we're pro-Black. We're pro-Black. No, they're not pro-Black. They're pro-progressive. They're pro-Democrat, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's nothing in this bill that would harm black people. Nothing. But if you listen to these clowns, again, it would crush black Louisiana. There's a reason why. When you look at black-owned businesses in the United States of America, right? States like Florida, Texas, Georgia constantly lead. Why is that? Because they're Republican states. They are red states. They have tax-friendly states. Turns out, whether or not you're black, white, whatever color you are, right? If your state is a business-friendly environment, black people can thrive, right? This is why black businesses, so-called black businesses, are thriving in red states, right? Like a Florida, a Georgia, a Texas. This is why they're thriving, okay? Because business-friendly environments help everybody, period, okay? Regardless of your skin color. But again, that's not the way that black liberals frame this.
Thank you again, Roland, for having us be a part of this conversation. You know, I wish 50 would have tried something else today other than interfering in our politics. But the reality is it's about what's good for him. But the truth of this is, Roland, they are restructuring the entirety of our tax code to help people like 50 Cent. Out-of-state business owners are going to be able to get more money in tax deductions in order to pay for this. People who are working class folks.
I can't imagine. Like, listen to this man talk. He's against businesses moving to the state. He's against businesses moving to the state. He's against, like, that's a bad thing. Oh, out-of-state business people like 50 Cent, they're coming to our state. They're creating jobs. It's so terrible. Yo, wow. That's all I got to say at this point.
Teachers, bus drivers, people who are auto mechanics, people who are people that work in restaurants. You're going to end up paying more in taxes because they're taxing more things in sales taxes. Teachers, this is a stipend that they're going to make permanent. It is not a raise. Teachers are not going to get any additional money in their pay. And a matter of fact, because of this,
it is a raise, right? If a stipend is not permanent and then you make it permanent, that's a raise, because a stipend is not a part of your base pay, right? That's something that you may or may not get. You don't know, but now you do know, right? That, hey, this is now permanent. That's a pay raise. Again, I love how these people try to play the semantics game to play down what, in my opinion, I think is good, right? An amendment that Louisiana should support. Now, I don't live in Louisiana, so it's not up to me. But if I did live in Louisiana, right? Yeah, these are things that I would want. I would want to make the state more business friendly to attract industry to the state so that the state can grow and people can have more jobs and earnings can go up, wages can go up, right? But again, these people, they think that the government is God, right? And that only the government should do. Oh, they need to raise the minimum wage. They need more welfare, more handouts. That's what these people want, instead of the people being able to support themselves. That's exactly what's going on here.
Changes in the sales taxes, their money is going to get ate up in more taxes rather than a serious substantive raise for our teachers. Roland, this has gotten so desperate for the governor that he was at the White House the other day, caught on a hot mic talking to Mike Johnson about this issue. And that's why they call 50, because at the end of the day, 50 is a businessman looking to advance himself in his business. And I don't have an issue with 50 coming to Shreveport and doing business. I don't have an issue with him buying up property. I don't have an issue with him attempting to revitalize Shreveport. I do have an issue with you saying that this is something that's good for us because you heard it from some white politicians in our state. I would also tell
Wow, this guy is so ignorant. I can't take the amount of ignorance right now. He's so dumb, right? Again, but this is progressivism, right? He has nothing but progressive talking points. That's it. He doesn't understand what he's saying makes no sense at all. Okay? He's saying that, well, I don't mind you coming to our state to do business. No, clearly you do, because you're quite literally advocating for policies to make it less business friendly, right? To make it harder for people like him, entrepreneurs, to come into the state and to create jobs. Clearly, you don't want 50 Cent to revitalize the area and to make the area better and to bring business and to bring economic opportunity. Clearly, you don't want that, because if you wanted that, then you would be in support of the amendment that makes it easier and more financially / economically attractive to do so. But you don't. You don't support it. In fact, you support policies that are exact opposite. You support raising taxes. You support taxing businesses out of the state. And then, what are the residents going to do when all the businesses are taxed out of the state? And now you can't fund your welfare programs, right? Again, these people are lunatics. They shouldn't be running anything. I wouldn't let these people run a taco stand at this point because they know nothing at all. And this is what I'm talking about, man. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So, again, these are your black liberals, right? These are your pro-blacks, guys. I want you guys to understand, it's not about what's best for black people. It's about what's best for liberals, what's best for Democrats, what's best for progressives. That's what it's about.
That Democrats in the state Senate did vote for this, but ask black folks in the state of Louisiana if they showed up overwhelmingly for the Democrats that are in the Senate. The answer is no. We've had abysmal voter turnout in this state over the last couple of years. We've never had, in Baton Rouge, I looked this up recently, Roland, in Baton Rouge in the last 20 years, there's not been a single legislative race where 50% of the people showed up to vote. So it's telling me that a senator supported this is not telling me that this is what the people of the state of Louisiana support. Also, right now, 37% of turnout in the state of Louisiana is black. If 12 to 15% of white people agree with what black voters are saying right now in this state, we end up defeating the governor and sending a message to him and the state legislature that you got to do better than this. The other thing is, we don't need confusion. We're telling people to vote no on all four, to have 50 come in and say vote yes on two. That's entering in confusion to a simple message, no on all four, because they're all bad for the people of Louisiana.
Wow.
Did the Power Coalition, did you or any others, did 50 Cent reach out to black activists to talk to them about any of this?
I've never had a conversation with 50. I reached out to you. I reached out to some other folks on the national level who I felt may have a relationship with the brother because, look, you may not know, okay? I'm trying to give the brother the benefit of the doubt. 50, you may not understand how this will hurt working class people, how this is going to hurt poor people. You may not have read the legislation because it's such a complicated piece of legislation that people sued in order to have it removed from the ballot because the language is so long and complicated because it's confusing.
And that failed, and it failed, okay? Just because you can't read, right? Your reading comprehension skills are lacking. That doesn't mean that the legislation is too complicated, okay? So again, the point is this. The point is this. You can decide for yourself. Actually, it's up to Louisiana to decide. The results probably are already out as I'm making this video. I don't know. But regardless, the framing here from black liberals is just crazy to me, right? It's almost as if, again, they're just anti-business, right? They're anti-things that I think overall will help the state, which will help black folks, and they just want black people to be on a welfare state forever, right? That's what they want. They don't want businesses coming in and having black people have self-sustainable neighborhoods and communities without, government handouts and stuff like that. They don't want that. They want black folks stuck on the government, and anything that comes in between that, okay, is something that they're going to fight against tooth and nail, and that's what's happening here. That's what's happening. I think that this amendment is good for the state of Louisiana. Again, I'm not a resident there, so it's not up for me to decide. I just think that, again, the framing here is crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. But again, this is exactly what I'm talking about in regards to how, again, these people they're not pro-black, right? They're not pro-black at all. They're pro-progressive. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.